Well, the violence in Kajuru County is just one part of a much larger crisis, one that has left thousands dead, displaced, or held for ransom. Among those speaking out is Reverend Gambo Waziri, a pastor with the Evangelical Church Winning All and a student at Harvard Divinity School. Although he is currently in the U.S., Reverend Waziri has first-hand experience with this crisis. His family members and friends have been victims of Nigeria's growing wave of kidnappings. Well, he joins us now to share his perspective on why the government's failure to act has only emboldened these criminals and why religious leaders must do more. Well, hello and welcome, Reverend Waziri. Well, let's begin. Even though you are currently in the U.S., you've been outspoken about Nigeria's security crisis. As someone from the North, what concerns you the most about the situation in Nigeria?
Let me complete the introduction. Actually, as you have said, I am from northern Nigeria, Kaduna State, to be precise. And in Kaduna State, I am from Zangon Kataf local government. And in Zangon Kataf local government, we have suffered more than enough. For a couple of years, we've seen different kinds of crises and violence. One of the major things that is affecting me is the silence. I don't want to say a conspiracy of silence, but the silence. The silence from people that should speak. It's one of the major challenges that we are facing now as a people. And one of the major reasons is the voice is being overshadowed by the identity of the person speaking it. You know, truth now it's more relative. It's true that not every voice must be heard, but when it gets to a point that even the voices that should speak are now silent, it's a serious point of concern. When the society cannot speak, cannot voice out what's happening to them, then it means something is definitely wrong. And it's one of my major concerns. And those who should listen actually choose which voice to listen to. Even when what you are saying is the truth, even when the reality is at hand, it's just selective who says it counts much more than what you say. So I think that is one of the major concerns that I have, that I am struggling with. Ideally, my choice of religion, ethics, and politics is in response to what we are experiencing in the North. That's one of my major reasons for choosing religion, ethics, and politics. Because ideally, I should just go for theological studies or biblical studies, but I feel we have to give or add our voices to what is happening. So that's one of the major challenges that I'm having.
Now, you've said that those who should be speaking out have remained silent. Who are you referring to, if I may ask?
To be specific, many voices, including pastors and Christian leaders, have gone quiet. Now, but I feel instead of asking whether they are or not silent, I think what I need to elaborate is understanding deeper reasons behind their silence. My concern is many religious leaders choose to be silent, and others were given a reason to be silent. Let me give you a few factors that is contributing to the silence. Unfortunately, the climate now, it's no longer safe for people who speak up. When you choose to speak the truth now in my country, in the context that we are addressing that has to do with insecurity, then one is taking a greater risk. You know, Christian leaders today face intimidation, persecution, and even death. And at some point, some of them are the first target of kidnapping. Others were attacked, and our families are being targeted. Now, because of this fear of the safety that a couple of religious leaders are not sure of, now it becomes fear now becomes a weapon for silencing many who would otherwise champion justice by speaking up. Another reason I would like to say is I don't know if that's the right word to use, but I feel as we weaponize or they weaponize poverty. The reality of economic hardship has weakened many voices. When pastor or religious leader struggle to provide for his own family, while also supporting his congregation, because I know it's not been long that I came here to the US. So I know the struggles. I have been part of the struggle. I know what's happening. I know what has happened in the past. Now we weaponize poverty. People are struggling economically. And as a result of that, suffering and hunger silence the voices of many religious leaders. Because of this economic distress, survival often takes precedence over advocacy. You know, and these are things that we just have to speak up. How many of our religious leaders today can confidently afford their children's school fees, feeding? So as a result of that, the leaders in the country succeeded in politicizing and weaponizing poverty to the point that even the voices that should speak are so weak that they cannot even speak. People are struggling for what to eat. People are struggling for how to survive. The third reason is so pathetic that some some religious leaders are now politically partisan, and some of them are being controlled by greed. I say this with all sincerity. There are religious leaders that could not raise their voice because they have compromised. They could not speak up. They have eaten the royal food. What do I mean by eating the royal food? Eating the royal food only signifies that some of them have sold their souls to the political leaders to the point that they cannot raise their voices, even in the midst of injustice that we see clearly happening. Now, how can you be bold to represent your people and God when you yourself, your hands are not clean? You are guilty. So a number of them identify themselves as like they are into partisan politics. So because you are into partisan politics for selfish reasons and greed, they cannot. And I think this is one of the major reasons why a number of religious leaders cannot even raise their voices. You know, using the first point and the second point, now this has given them a room to become so weak because they cannot raise their voices. I read from the Bible, people like Daniel, could only stand and face the king because they choose not to dine and wine with the king. They rejected the royal food, and as a result of that, God has given them the grace. But today, a number of religious leaders, Christian religious leaders that I know, a number of them cannot face these things and the challenges happening and say the truth. They can't. So it's really affecting us. I have so many reasons to say, but these are just few. Instead of being a moral compass of society, they have become an extension of political machinery, prioritizing personal benefits over the welfare of the people. We are called to be the salt and the light of this world. Now, how can you be a salt and a light when you are part of the problem? So I think these are some of the reasons why religious leaders are really silent, even when they should speak.
All right, you mentioned that you and your people have reached a breaking point. Now, how has this crisis personally impacted you?
While I was a pastor at Zanguan local government, we saw hundreds of people trooping into my community, that is Zankua. When I asked them, that's on the 10th of July 2020, during COVID, these people were helpless and hopeless. I had to come in. I began to think and to make some calls on how can we help these people. These are our people. And I can tell you this for free, that we started or established an IDP camp, which the Red Cross, of course, recommend as one of the best, where we gave shelter, food, and so many things to these people. Before the end of this IDP camp, thousands of people benefited. Now, as I am talking to you right now, it has only changed form. The direct attacks on communities, one can say, has reduced at some level, but the rise of kidnap has multiplied. As I am talking to you, there are cousins of mine, members of my church, that are still in the captivity. Millions of naira are being demanded. In fact, one of our uncles, or my senior brother, that I can say millions of naira was given to these people, this bandit, and they still couldn't release him. I can tell you, I am from Zambankatav local government, as I said, in Ikulu land, where I am coming from. I am Ikulu. Virtually every 2-3 days, there will be an attack and kidnap. So this thing is seriously affecting me. It got to sometimes I cannot even concentrate because my people are suffering. Who should speak? Who will even listen to us? You know, when there is selective voices that you want to hear, and all you wanted to hear is for them to praise you, oh, things are going well, because it has not affected you. When we have people out there, we have people in Ikululand. A couple of days ago, my friend and brother, the chairman of Kaura local government, called me on how our priest was killed. He was kidnapped and killed. A reverend father. So we experience this on daily basis, either biologically related or not. They are my people, and what affects one affects all. Because these people are suffering, my old aged mother is having a sleepless night, my family members are having sleepless nights, my church members are having sleepless nights, friends and relatives. It affects me, it's affecting me seriously. So this thing is greatly affecting me.
Well, Reverend Gambo Waziri, pastor with Evangelical Church, Reading Hall, and student at Harvard Divinity School, thank you so much for your time and your insight.